What is the secret to saving penalties? That was an amazing email that I got emailed over this weekend by a William Murray, aged 10, from the United Kingdom. Fantastic question, William. Now, before I give you some tips and some, obviously, the J4K community some tips, and especially parents of goalkeepers or goalkeeping coaches to help their goalkeeping child. First of all, William, I wish there was a secret to saving penalties. It would be amazing if we could save every penalty that we come up against, which obviously, sadly, that's not the case. But I say there's no secret to saving penalties. The best way you can improve your abilities to save penalties is practice, practice, practice. Now, if you've listened to other training videos that I've done or other podcasts, you'll hear me say that as goalkeepers, we must work harder than our competition. So for example, William, if you find out that goalkeepers in your league practice 1 hour a week on their penalties, if you practice 2 or maybe 3 hours a week on your penalties, over the weeks and months to come, you'll become a much better penalty saver than other goalkeepers in your league. So there's no secret. Unfortunately, it's just hard work. It's practice, practice, practice. The more penalties that you experience, and obviously as you get older and your ability grows as well. So practice, having practice, 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 as many penalties as you can against yourself, and obviously experiencing it, and with experience and age, you will become a better penalty taker. That's the secret, William, okay? But I'll give you some tips in the meantime, okay, yeah? I'm going to answer this email in 2 parts, William, okay? The first one is for small-sided goals and also for big-sided goals as well. Now, what I was taught as a young goalkeeper when I was like 8, 9 years of age, and I've told thousands of my students this as well, that what you'll normally find is that in a small-sided goal, and again, I don't mean to be disrespectful to the young penalty takers, okay, because I'd never be disrespectful to any child, but they, you know, most of them have not got the ability to put the balls in the corners, either bottom corner or top corner. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a few that can, but for the most part, when they take a penalty, will put it more or less right down the middle, or slightly to the left, or slightly to the right, depending on what foot they are. So as a goalkeeper, especially if you're in small-sided goals, or if you're a coach or a parent of a goalkeeper, if you can obviously help and educate your goalkeeping child to stand big as they can in the goal, you'll find for the most part the penalties will come more or less straight at them. Now again, I'm stressing that's not all the time. As I say, there is obviously, you know, still young players out there with fantastic talents who can put it in the corners. But for the most part, if you stand big, as I say, the ball will more or less come straight at you. Then also once you get into the bigger goals as well, what you normally found, and I was told this as well, and it worked really incredibly well for me up until the age of like 12 or 13, maybe 13 years of age maybe. And what I was told, and I've told thousands of my students over the years, and it's helped my students as well, predominantly when a right footer is taking a penalty, they will hit it to the goalkeeper's right, and a left footer will hit the penalty to the goalkeeper's left. Okay, so a right footer, again, not all the time, okay, I'm stressing not all the time, but for the most part, a right footer will hit the ball to the goalkeeper's right, a left footer to the goalkeeper's left. And again, the reason why that is just because of ability levels. Again, I'm not saying some 12-year-olds or 11-year-olds can't put the ball in the bottom corner. They can, but for the most part, most have still not got that ability yet, because as a right footer, it's easier to hit the ball to the goalkeeper's right, to the goalkeeper's left, without telegramming as well, because as a right footer, for a right footer, especially a young player, for them to open up their body and put the ball, obviously, so they're coming across their body to hit the ball towards the goalkeeper's left-hand side. That's actually very difficult. Well, it's more difficult than hitting it to the goalkeeper's right. But also, don't forget as well, the penalty takers are trying to disguise, obviously, to the goalkeeper which way they're not. You know, obviously they're not going to strike the ball, so it's difficult for a right footer, for example, to disguise the fact when they're opening up the body to hit the ball to the goalkeeper's left. So it's actually easier for them to hit the ball to the goalkeeper's right. Also, they can get more power, they can get more accuracy as a youngster as well. As I say, I'm not saying that on all cases. That, like I said, there's still some 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds who can hit the ball anywhere they want, but for the most part, most youngsters have still not got that ability level yet to obviously to disguise their run up, to disguise how they're going to hit the ball, etc. So you, obviously as a goalkeeper, you can take advantage of that again, but you've also got to, it doesn't happen all the time, guys, okay, yeah, and this is where practice comes in. That's why if you're, what I really recommend every goalkeeper does at the end of each practice is have at least 10 to 15 penalties taken, get them taken at you, so you get to understand the run up and the body language, what players use to try and disguise obviously where they're going to hit the ball, and that's what that will give you the edge the more that you practice it as well. Another tip as well, William, as well, obviously for you guys in the J4K community, is always, if you can, when you're warming up for the game, the penalty takers will normally always go and practice a few penalties in the warm-up. They might have 5 or 6 penalties. So again, watch out for that as a goalkeeper, or ideally the coach or the parent of a goalkeeper. You watch out for that, so because that'll then allows the goalkeeper to warm up, obviously warm up correctly and properly. But if you're a parent of a goalkeeper or a coach and you see the penalty taker, hit the ball consistently to the right, for example, you can then say to your goalkeeper, hey, look, if there's a penalty, this is again, this is where all the statistics can obviously start obviously playing in. Again, obviously when you look like to the Premiership and a professional level, the advantages a lot of the goalkeepers have when they play professionally, their goalkeeping coaches go to enormous efforts to actually statistically find out all the penalty takers and where they've taken their penalties over the last few games, etc. So a goalkeeping coach at a professional level will be able to say to their goalkeepers before the game or just before the penalty is about to be kicked, hey, okay, number 7, I'll probably mention the name of the player, they're going to be taking the penalty if they're still on the field, and 80% of the time they go to the right. So the goalkeeper then, the professional goalkeeper's in goal, knowing that 80% is going to go to the right, but saying that as well, the goalkeeper will still be obviously watching the body language of that player, etc. And again, that's where experience comes in, because even though they might have been told 80% of the time the penalty taker goes to the right, the penalty taker just might telegraph it and go the opposite way. And again, that's where practice is so important, guys, okay, yeah. So I hope that helps. As I say, I wish there was a secret to saving penalties, but it's practice. The more you practice with penalties, the better you will become. But again, please use those tips as well. If you're in a small sided goal, try and learn to stand as big as you can, because for the most part, the balls will come more or less straight at the goalkeeper, maybe slightly to the left or the right. Then when you get into the bigger goals, again, for the most part, and I'm not saying that happens all the time, okay, guys, yeah, that's why you need to practice to read that body language, but for the most part, a right footer will hit the ball to the goalkeeper's right, and a left footer to the goalkeeper's left, because it's easier for them to get that power and that accuracy, because it's a natural way the body sort of flows, if that makes sense, when they're taking a kick. And also as well, in the warm up, again, as a goalkeeper, but ideally the coach or the parent of the goalkeeper, just watch to see the opponent player, the penalty taker will go up and practice some penalties, so, and for the most part they probably won't be aware that you're watching them, okay, yeah, because they won't be thinking at that level. So if you just watch, again, that can just give you that slight advantage, okay. So hope that helps. And again, as always, please, guys, if there's any comments below, how do you prepare, how do you practice, how do you become the best penalty saver that you can be, please put your comments below. Again, I know you can't do this if you're listening on the podcast, guys, I do apologise, but if you listen to this on YouTube or anywhere where you can put your comments below, please put your comments below. What do you do to increase your chances of saving penalties and help your fellow goalkeepers and fellow parents of goalkeepers as well. So I hope that tip helps. Fantastic question, William. And again, guys, keep the questions coming in. All the best. Take care.